Hey friends, welcome back to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. Maybe you have been wanting to switch to healthier foods for your family, but you're honestly concerned that you're just going to waste your money. Maybe you're thinking that you're going to try switching to all these healthier foods and then your kids won't eat them, they'll refuse to try them, and then you're basically going to have to go back to what you were already feeding them. I think that this is a valid concern, and today I want to talk about how we can work through this concern that we'll be wasting our money by switching to healthier foods for our family. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hi friend, do you dream of having a garden but you don't know where to start? Do you want to switch to more natural products but feel overwhelmed by all the options? Do you believe that a holistic lifestyle would help your special needs kiddo but you're daunted by all the information out there? Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast, where you will learn how to work towards your dream for homesteading, gardening, and holistic living in small, simple steps that won't overwhelm you. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a wife, Jesus follower, and mom to some amazing kids. As some of my kids began experiencing health struggles and developmental delays, I decided it was time to switch to a holistic lifestyle. I quickly became stressed out and burnt out, feeling like I needed to change everything at once. I finally realized that I had to start making one small change at a time, then build from there. I learned to walk this holistic journey in a way that works for me and my family, without stress or overwhelm or constantly feeling like I wasn't doing enough. If you're ready to hear from another mama who understands what it's like to have no time and who can help you make changes towards better health for your family in a way that works for your specific life, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in your earbuds, reheat your coffee for the third time, and let's do this.
All right, friend, I know I have been there before too. I really have wanted to switch to healthier foods. I've tried, buying a bunch of foods and then realized my kids would eat basically none of it. And that is not a good feeling because it feels like you are wasting money. It feels like you have also wasted time by investing in researching these different foods, going and buying them, and then they just sit there and no one wants to eat them. And I think that especially for many of us right now, we don't have the extra funds in order to just waste money on food. So being responsible with what we are buying makes perfect sense. And I think that it's something that we do truly have to consider. And I think it's a real concern that we just don't have that extra money. So why would we buy food that our kids don't want to eat? So what I want to say is, how can we switch to healthier foods without wasting a lot of money? That's what I want to talk about today. So what I want to say first and foremost is that I think you should start small. This feels like the thing I always say, start small. But it is just what I have found to be the most helpful in pretty much every area of my life, is starting small. So start small, and by this I mean only pick one or two foods that you are going to try out or that you're going to switch or replace with an alternative. I think that this is really helpful because it helps to keep our overwhelm down because we're not trying to switch everything at once, but also it's going to help with the budget because we are not having to try to switch to a bunch of healthier, potentially more expensive foods all at the same time. And especially if you go and I don't know if anyone's done this before, but I have. I'm like, oh, we're going to switch out all the foods in our home. So then I go to the grocery store, spend a bunch of money for all these healthier foods, new things that we're going to try. And then my kids don't like any of them at all. And that is not a good feeling. So I want you to avoid doing that by starting small. Just pick one or two things each time you go to the grocery store, or as your budget allows, and instead of buying the thing that you would have bought before, switch it out for the healthier option and try it. See how your kids do with it. See if they like it before you just dive in completely with switching everything at one time. Number two would be to actually plan out what you're going to be trying based on what's on sale. So examples of this would be if you're wanting to try new fruits or new vegetables, look at the sales flyers and see what is on sale this week. What can I get at a decent price? That would be the time that I would go ahead and spend the money to try that. Maybe kiwis are on sale and your kids haven't tried kiwis and you're really wanting them to. Well, when they're on sale, go ahead and get them. That way your kids can still try the new food, but it feels like less of a risk because you're getting it at a discounted price. It's the same thing with meat. If you're wanting your kids to try some kind of new kind of meat, some kind of frozen food, maybe something at Sam's or Costco. Sam's and Costco both have different foods they have like a discount on them every single month. So look at all of those things. I'm thinking of specifically like frozen foods. If you're wanting some kind of more of a convenience frozen food that's healthier, looking for the things that are on sale, that is when I would try those things. And then just focus on those foods as like your one or two foods that you're going to replace for that week or every 2 weeks or however often you shop. and see how your kids tolerate it. If they really like it, then you can know you're going to use that moving forward. A lot of times, it depends on the food. Obviously, fruits and vegetables are going to go on sale more seasonally, but things at like boxed foods and frozen foods at like Sam's and Costco typically have a little bit of a rotation. Not everything does, but often they do. So you could even wait for the next time a sale runs around to get more and stock up, which is what I typically do when possible to try to save a little bit of extra money while also giving my kids and my whole family good quality food. All right, number 3 would be when you are offering your kids new things, I would make sure you're also starting with very small portions. So I often will only give them like a couple of tablespoons of something if I am letting them try a new thing. And the reason why I like this is because it's going to help to stretch out the food, which is obviously going to help with the budget, but also it's likely that your child may need to be exposed to this food multiple times before they are open to trying it or before they decide if they do or don't like it. So when you're giving them smaller portions, you're giving them more opportunities to try out what you already have on hand. Now, if it's something that they absolutely love, I'm not saying to limit the portion you're giving them. But when we are trying new things specifically, I definitely try to stick to a very small portion just to give them to try. Number 4 is when you're trying these new things, when it's possible, and it's not always possible, but save what they don't eat. So I will just, let's say we're trying something new, I put it on their plates, and none of them touch it, or 2 of them don't touch it, or whatever, then I'll just take that off of the plate and put it in some kind of a storage container and save it to try at the next meal or, the following day, something like that, so that I'm not just wasting it. It's not just being thrown in the trash. That way we can get more use out of this new food that we are trying, again, exposing them to that food more times. I just feel like it's very, very helpful. Number 5, I will say, I think to some degree, we do have to accept at times that it just may cost more. We may try something and it may be a failure and no one wants to eat it, or there may be a little bit of food that can be wasted. Obviously, we want to reduce that as much as possible and be as wise with it as possible. But part of getting our kids to try new foods, trying to offer healthier foods to our family can be that at times things go to waste. Things just are not a hit with the family, and that is just part of it. I really do think that following these tips can really help, though, to reduce that amount of waste. Okay, and the last one, number 6, is when it's possible, make it from scratch versus buying a pre-made food item. Especially when it comes to things that are healthier foods, they tend to mark things up quite a bit more whenever they can market it as a healthy option. So you can really, really save quite a bit of money if you can make it yourself. Now, I do also want to preface this by saying, be realistic with what you have the time and capacity for. The reality is my kids love gluten-free dinosaur nuggets from Walmart. And I could technically make my own gluten-free nuggets for the kids, but I probably wouldn't want to make them into dinosaur shapes, which means my kids are going to be less likely to eat them. And to be honest, I just really don't want to make gluten-free chicken nuggets from scratch. If you do and you have the capacity, then by all means, that's probably a way you could save money. And I do think when you can, make it from scratch. But if you know that you don't have the time or the capacity or the desire to do it, then just prioritize it that's something you spend money on, which is what I do with the dinosaur gluten-free nuggets. I just buy them and then I make other things from scratch. And I think that is a way to kind of create the balance and also set realistic expectations for ourselves, because if we have been making pretty much nothing from scratch and then all of a sudden we tell ourselves we're going to make everything from scratch, the likelihood is that's going to last like a day or 2 before you're back to just going to the grocery store and buying stuff, because it's really hard to make that drastic of a shift at one time. So I want to tell you, offer yourself grace and be realistic about what you can and can't do. But when you can, go ahead and make that food from scratch. All right, that is all of the tips that I have for you. I hope that this was helpful. I would love to hear from you guys if you use any of these tips. Share with us over in our free Facebook community. You can find us at bit.ly/motherhoodcommunity, or it's linked down in the show notes below. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back next time.
Hey Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who is wanting to live more holistically without the overwhelm? Also, don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. It blesses and encourages me to know that this show is helping you. All right, friends, it's time for me to go work in the garden and make some homemade bone broth. I will see you back next week.